Hello and welcome to another San Diego Comic-Con Google Plus Community Hangout with myself, Leonard Sultana. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, or indeed this evening, wherever you are watching live. I do know that we have one or two people watching live and also have been posting to the Google Plus community, and no doubt will be posting to the YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much indeed for your time. What this is a brief conversation with Stephen Johnson, the Vice President of Public Vice President of Public Affairs for the San Diego Convention Center. Welcome along, Stephen. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Once again, this conversation is going off live. Now, you can obviously watch this at any point, and we are looking forward to your comments during this conversation. But if you do wish to add to the conversation via the YouTube comments, we'll do what we can with a follow-up conversation or email with Stephen later, but we would love for you to take part. We are tracking the comments on YouTube, so please do take part. Right, Stephen, this conversation comes off the back. Well, basically, just to let you know, this is going to be very much a selfish affair, because it is going to be very much about San Diego Comic-Con and its relationship with the convention center and how the expansion is going to affect and indeed influence Comic-Con in the future. Now, the conversation comes off the back of the meeting that happened on October 10 with the Coastal Commission voting to approve the project. What was that meeting like for the convention center? I can imagine slightly stressful.
Well, it was a meeting we'd worked years and years and years up to, and we were particularly thrilled with the outcome. Although getting there, we had a lot of challenges, and it involved a lot of collaboration between the city and the Port of San Diego, who own the building and who are partners in expanding it. And we met and worked diligently for months and months and months, and in fact years, to get a project that would pass through the coastal permitting process. And while the staff of the Coastal Commission urged the commissioners themselves to reject the expansion, the commissioners voted unanimously to support the expansion, which was a huge victory, and I think surprised all of us. Even the hardest of us believed that we were not going to get unanimous, but it was great.
Well, indeed. I do know that a number of the people that were speaking at the meeting very much were in favor and supporting the project. Indeed, David Glanzer stood up and very much made an impassioned statement in your corner. It's got to be said, though, there were a number of, if not hurdles, then certainly concerns from people, and it did look very touch and go before that meeting.
Well, it's this has been an evolutionary project that really began a public process in 2009 with the mayor when he convened a task force. And at that time, we knew that we were going to need to expand to be able to keep our largest events, including Comic-Con, because of their phenomenal growth. And so we began that process with the mayor and the city and stakeholders, and had over 100 community meetings in the last, well, 5-6 years up to this meeting. So it was a long process, but lots of hurdles, but we've overcome most of them, and now we are in the process of getting the final permitting permits, rather, from the Port of San Diego, and once the financing issues are finalized, we will have a shovel in the ground.
Excellent. Just to give a little bit of background, you gave a little bit there in terms of the background to the expansion. This is a $520 million expansion with additional space of 200,000 square feet. When did the plans start coming into place for the expansion?
Well, we did an initial kind of test fit for to see how much space we could add to the building on the land currently behind our facility, and then we did an international design competition, and that's how we came up with the what I believe is a really phenomenal design. with a 5-acre rooftop park, adding another 225,000 square feet of contiguous exhibit space. So when you're on the floor and you're cramped right now at a con, it's going to give you about a third the more size on the floor there. So it's going to allow for more attendees. It's going to allow for a little more breathing room. I think everybody would appreciate that. And it's going to add more meeting rooms, another 100,000 square feet of meeting rooms. So there'll be additional opportunities for programming in those meeting rooms. Then, what I think is really exciting is an 80,000 square foot ballroom that's one entire wall is glass that looks out over into the San Diego Bay, and that's going to be a great venue for the masquerade.
Fantastic. Because it's one thing that we have noticed, because we have seen a lot of the designs from the outside of the building, including that amazing rooftop uh, garden, or the area that is up on the roof. It's a gorgeous design. We haven't seen too much in terms of the internal layouts, because we have had a number of questions coming in about how the space is going to be structured, certainly for any additional rooms, any room size changes. Certainly, for example, with the two headline rooms for Comic-Con, which is Hall H and Ballroom 20. Are those shapes going to stay the same, or is there any additional spaces? What's the changes? I can imagine that the design is still pretty fluid at this point.
Well, actually, we know that Hall H is definitely going to change. It's going to get bigger and substantially bigger. And the plans call for anybody who's been to the con and waited in line outside Hall H knows that there is a kind of a green area and park with buttresses that mirror the design of the facility. That entire area, well, not the entire area, but a significant part of that area will be utilized to square off Hall H, and it will make that side of the building more consistent, that hall more consistent. And then the expansion calls for additional square footage on the back of Hall H. So Hall H will be far and above the single largest hall on the exhibit hall floor, and so it will be able to, if they want to, put thousands and thousands of more individuals into Hall H.
Well, it's 6,500 capacity already. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. That's going to be insane. It's got to be said, when I was speaking to David Glanzer last week, the conversation when it came to the convention center was very much, we definitely talked about how while Comic-Con has a number of design specifications, at the end of the day, the Comic-Con only takes up 1 week of the year, and you do have conventions coming to you throughout the year. However, it's got to be said, Comic-Con does have some rather specific design challenges in terms of the lines that are happening outside. We've had a question from Martin Burke from the Google Plus community. At what extent were the lines accounted for in the design process? And indeed, were there any conversations with Comic-Con to discuss those?
Well, a good question. Lines are always the issue for the con fans. With the increased capacity in the building, I think you'll see a drop off in lines. But of course, depending on the popularity of the programming in any specific room or ballroom or hall, the lines will be dependent on that popularity. But because the building itself is going to expand by another third, so you'll see a lot more space and opportunities for programming. The pre-function space, the space we have in front of the halls and around the ballrooms, etc., will also increase in the expanded part of the area, so that there will be additional space for people to congregate and to move through lobbies, etc. But from the standpoint of lines, it's just a matter of the programming, and Comic-Con handles all the programming. So it really is about the confluence of popularity and the space for that particular program.
Indeed. Martin does actually say the tents are a fairly new addition to the design. It would be a shame to lose them. I presume the lines are looking at going up to the rooftop, or where would you see, or where would the convention center see the lines forming with the expansion moving onto the tent space as it currently is?
Well, the backside of the expansion will have a ramp that runs the entire length up the side of the building if you look at the renderings. And that certainly is an opportunity for people to queue in line on the ramp because it's a very low slope. It's superior to ADA compliant, so it's a very gentle slope, and it'll be, I believe, about 25 to 30 feet wide, if not a little bit larger. And so there'll be plenty of space there to queue. And also,
good view of the bay.
Yeah, beautiful look of the bay, and keep people with something to do. But the tents on the park area where we have people queuing now will go away because that will be a part of Hall H.
Right. Okay. Just to wrap up the section on the design, the changes, the design that has been put into place through the renderings, is that I presume that's the final rendering that's currently in place. What changes were made from requests from outside sources such as the Bayfront, the City of San Diego? What changes were put into place in the design?
There were substantial changes made throughout this process, not only from our partners at the port and the city, but from the input we got from clients. So we talked to our clients to ask them what the design, what worked with the design, what didn't work, what they needed to have changed. So those kind of things have moved through the process and been incorporated into what you see now. The one thing that you're not seeing in any of the renderings that we currently show is that a small corner that faces the water right above where that ramp starts on the backside will be kind of sliced off, if you will, to improve the view corridor in between the Hilton Hotel and the convention center. But at the same time, that whole area there is going to be reconfigured, and it will be very pedestrian friendly and a lot safer. We're moving all the truck traffic off the street behind the building and putting it underneath the building so that it shields the pedestrians' experience along the waterfront from the unsightly truck traffic that is coming and going to keep all the Comic-Con booths stocked, if you will, and the food in the building. Excellent.
Okay, I suppose it's good to start then moving on to the next step when it comes to Comic-Con and also the plans. I know that the convention center, the plan is to break ground in late 2014, which would be after the next Comic-Con. What's the timetable from the convention center's perspective from here to get the expansion happening?
Well, there's two pieces to the expansion, but before either one of those can begin, we need to resolve the financing issue, which is
you're jumping down my list.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That was something I was going to cover.
Okay,
because
I'll wait on that, but I'll answer your question, and you can come back to that. So,
in an ideal world, the dream scenario, breaking ground.
Yes, the first effort will involve relocating utilities and relocating Convention Way and Harbor Drive so that you clear the area for the construction of the building itself. So that project will take about a year, and once that year is resolved and that project is complete, then we'll break ground on the actual physical building. But the beginning of the project, we hope, like you said, starts in late 2014, early 2015.
Excellent. Now, obviously, that construction is going to be a massive undertaking with a lot of people and construction workers and a lot of work being done around the convention. Has that been taken into consideration already in terms of the amount of people that are going to be showing up in San Diego in July 2015, and indeed the
Um,
following years.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see anything major impacting the building in July 2015. At that point, they'll be doing things like pile driving and it'll be initial construction. So I don't think you'll see any of that. And of course, none of that will happen during the con, so
Right.
as to not disturb the programming. But subsequently, the exhibit halls, the one of the first exhibit hall expansions is going to be Hall H. So I think you'll probably notice that in 2016 is that Hall H will be under construction. The expansion will be under construction, but this building is going to be operational the entire time the expansion takes place. And to the degree that we're able to utilize new space as it becomes complete and available, for example, the additional space in Hall H, if it's completed before the final building of all the construction is done, then we'll try and see if we can get an occupancy permit to be able to utilize the additional space for Hall H. So there may be some benefits through this project that help Comic-Con and other events in the building during the stretch of time that it takes from about 30 months to build the building itself.
Right. I mean, that was going to be my next question. When the intended plan for the expansion, when does the final ribbon over the whole project? When are you looking at that to be in an ideal world? When that would be happening?
Well, I think pretty realistically, we probably look at 2018. I'm not exactly sure when, based on the unknowns of when we're going to put a shovel in the ground right now. I mean, it depends on whether or not we start the build out and the construction in 14 or 15. And it just
Excellent.
depends on that. And we'll know better once we get started. We'll have a much more accurate timeline about what things, the phases that we'll go through to completion, and we'll know more then.
So, no doubt, of course, people can also follow the project as well on the website, which is blog.visitsandiego.com, and also the Convention Center expansion. Yeah, well, that is the name of the title. Conventioncenterexpansion.com, as shown on your banner there. I'm certain that there'll be updates as the build goes on. What extension? To what extent did you have any communication with Comic-Con in terms of the design? This question has come in from James Hanks on Google Plus. What specific input did Comic-Con International have in regards to the expansion process?
Well, we did a series of meetings where we showed the design to our clients, including Comic-Con, and got feedback from our clients and answered their questions actually to see the new design. So, I don't have a list of the questions that were asked and answered specifically, but we did an extensive outreach effort with our clients to get feedback and input throughout this entire project, and including the design you see now. It involved customer input and feedback to us. We want to build something that's going to be viable and useful to our clients.
Brilliant. Excellent. I suppose then it's time to cover the hurdles that are yet to come. Now, I do know that there are still organisations still opposing the current proposals and considering legal routes. When does that challenge take effect, and how does that affect your timetable?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle right now is the financing question, and we went through the initial court challenge on the financing plan for the expansion in March of last year. This year, excuse me, March of this year.
I know, I can imagine it's felt like a very long year to
it the court ruled that the financing plan was legal, constitutional, and valid. And so that was a huge hurdle for us, and a big sign that subsequent courts will likely to rule consistent with the initial court. And that is where we are now. We have an appeal process from opponents of the financing plan. They have the opportunity now to make their case to an appeals court, and the appeals court will hear it. That's what we're waiting to hear, is whether or not it'll be late in 2013 or early in 2014. But within the next 6 months, we'll have a very clear understanding of how the courts on the appeal of the initial decision will rule.
Excellent. Okay, we are taking questions from both the YouTube community and also from Google Plus. So it's more one or two questions in terms of obviously Comic-Con and the convention center. First of all, we've actually had a question for yourself from Into the Blue Mister. Has Stephen ever experienced the craziness of the con firsthand?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have I've been on the floor for 6 years, and it's most crazy for us in advance of the con, and then through preview and opening day, and then it kind of calms down through the balance of it. But we provide support to David Glanzer's team to the degree that they need assistance from us. For example, one year we helped them with Twitter updates on lines, and we started that whole project and helped them because they're completely consumed with the con during the time. So each year we deal with a lot of media. The Comic-Con has about 2,000 to 2,500, I believe, is the latest count of press that attends the con from all over the world. And so we're constantly dealing with inquiries about the value of Comic-Con to the city, and how the convention center is expanding, and questions of that nature. I do spend money on the floor, and my house shows it. And so yes, I do. I go to several panels if I can get into them, and I went to a Wilford panel a couple years ago that was a great panel, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what the programming is for the upcoming con. I'm a fan of American Horror Story, so I'm hoping that we see something out of that program here.
Fantastic.
Although I have to say that the team here is big Walking Dead fans, so they're all talking about that every day.
Well, I can imagine that with the stress of the current meetings, I can imagine they're also starting to look a little bit like extras from the from the show as well. We've also had a question from Cedric Carmichael on YouTube, asking, will there be an upgrade to the food choices inside the convention center? Because within the con, there's obviously the hot dog stands, or the carts, and also the food court down on the convention floor. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean the food. The interesting thing is this year they added a whole selection of different options beyond just the pizzas and hot dogs and nachos. But to be honest with you, the majority of people buy the pizza, the hot dogs, and the nachos, and so we can sell some of the other stuff, but when it comes to what people actually go and buy on the floor, they want comfort food and food on the run, and that's what they buy. So yes, each year the chef here works to create additional selections, and they test things out. So there have been probably some tests they did last year at the con on food, and they'll probably move forward and do some additional ones this year.
Excellent.
And I'm welcome. I'll take a request if they're interested in a particular food suggestion. I'm happy to tell the chef.
We will request that in the comments, and I can personally say, as visitors from the UK, we are big fans of the pretzel dogs. I think yes, my wife is also nodding to that one. We're fans. We're fans. Right. I think we've pretty much covered everything. We've answered a number of questions from the group. Thank you very much indeed for getting those in. And I think, Stephen, you've been incredibly forthcoming on the details. Certainly, a number of the concerns that were coming in when it came to how the expansion was going to clash with the convention. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We really do appreciate it. And once again, to everybody who has joined us on both Google Plus and on YouTube, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It just remains for me to say once again, thank you, Stephen, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. This once again has been hosted by the Comic-Con Google Plus community. You'll be able to find the address for that down in the description for this video. We would like you to join us, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in July in 2014. Thank you very much indeed for your time.